I want to welcome Carmen Hurt on stage. You heard a lot about what the UNHCR does. Carmen has 25 years of experience in the public and private sector with respect to corporate management and also risk and finance. And most recently, she's also the treasurer at the UNHCR, and she's spent a lot of time focusing on how best to hold the agency's assets and to deliver them out into the world. So welcome, Carmen. Thank you so much for being here. Obviously, the refugee crisis, as we just heard on this video, but also has been really in the news because of the conflict, of the war in the Ukraine. Can you give us some context on global displacement and the United Nations role in working with displaced individuals?
Yes. So like we just heard, of course, people that are displaced are ever increasing. So since the video was done, we have now 100 million people displaced, which is obviously amazing to make sure that we can actually cater for them. The key is that we are looking for new solutions, and one of those solutions is cash. So why not cash, i.e. that we would not deliver just shelter or hygiene or water in that sense, but we actually give the refugee the dignity for themselves actually to decide what they want to do. So I think if any of us actually are imagining right now, imagine you're a refugee. So, what would you expect from UNHCR and the UN family of organizations in order to make sure that you actually can sustain and that your rights are actually observed? So UNHCR also provides protection. So legally, this is quite important as well. So as you are crossing borders, we refer to refugees, internally displaced, to IDPs, internally displaced. So the key is that UNHCR also has quite an elaborate system to register internally displaced and refugees. So only the most vulnerable will get our assistance. So we cannot give assistance to 100 million people. But nevertheless, it's increasing and increasing. So the solutions that we are providing need to be integrated, need to be standardized, need to be seamless, and obviously reach the internally displaced or the refugees.
So much of what we talk about when we talk about decentralization and blockchain is about putting the power into the hands of the individual. And it seems like that's so much of what the UNHCR has been doing for many, many years. Why is the UNHCR considering using blockchain?
Yeah. So we have systems currently in place, systems, processes to do cash. The key is that blockchain obviously gives us a whole new opportunity. We have yesterday also heard about the smart contracts and many more things to come. So this is a technology we want to embrace and obviously grow with it. These are early days, so in some ways we can agree this is just the beginning. That's just the beginning. So we are really excited to have our first use case and look at how this actually, reaches the last mile as well. So that's important to us. So it's not, technology is one side, and we need to make sure that the integrations still work. So more to come. So it's blockchain for good.
I love that, blockchain for good. Yay. This is a really big moment, and I'm not sure, most people don't know, our teams have been working a lot together. We've been honored Carmen has spent so much time with us working on a project. Do you want to describe a little bit about what the UNHCR is building on Stellar?
Yeah. So, of course, the Stellar team, we have to thank you for all the efforts that you have gone through with us. We have been at it, I think, for about 6 months, 7 months, something like that. And we have gone through how the blockchain can really come into action. And I think we are at a stage where we can say, yes, it's there. And our dream is sort of coming true in that sense, that we would have a financial gateway, and blockchain would be part of that. So we can reach the beneficiaries. And the way we have set this up is through USDC on Circle. from Circle, we have a payout organized through a payout API onto the wallet. And we also have UNICC, so we have another UN organization that is basically hosting the platform, the Stellar Disbursement Platform. I think that's very important. That gives us huge opportunity to also onboard, in that sense, other UN agencies and other partners. You have heard we work with at least 1,000 partners, so it's not just the UN in itself, but also social societies on the ground. So from that perspective, I think we are sort of orchestrating all the partners, everyone that needs a role in that. And from the Vibrant wallet, it's then actually cashed out through MoneyGram. So we also have heard on that very powerful partnership, Stellar MoneyGram. So we have plenty of options available to the internally displaced or the refugees to encash, wherever they need the money. So if they need fiat, they cash out fiat. If they want to transfer it to their account, they transfer it to their account. So plenty of options.
Wow, this is like huge. I have to say that it is my absolute favorite use case for the Stellar Network, for what we've built, for the partnership with MoneyGram and Circle. It is the thing that creates transparency for the donors and opportunities for the internally displaced as well as the refugees. I am so excited, and Carmen and her team have spent a lot of time educating us about UNHCR and everything that we need to do to even improve and be better on our side. So it's been an awesome collaboration, and I'm really grateful for it. It is nothing less than the urgency of doing from the topic of our conference, obviously. I expect that you understand that theme really well, given your work and given what the UNHCR does. Talk versus reality is a really, really big issue with new technologies. So how is the UNHCR going beyond the hype to make it a real impact?
Yeah. So the preparedness, the readiness is obviously very important. So whenever we have a crisis, so we have a crisis in Ukraine at this point, we had several months before we had Afghanistan, so we had Syria before. So the key is that we come out of that crisis mode, that we can actually prepare ourselves. So anytime, anywhere, any device, we are ready to actually get that money to the person. So this is really our objective, to have a very powerful financial gateway. So we are not, every time we have a crisis, trying to figure out how is this now going to work. So whilst UNHCR has been doing cash for some time, and we are looking at millions of transactions. So we're not looking at 10,000 transactions. Potentially, we could have as many transactions as we have displaced people. So if we have 100 million displaced people, the key is that for that to manage this kind of volume, ever-increasing volume, we need to have very integrated, high-end, best-in-class technology and obviously best practices. So I'm confident that this is actually only the beginning, so more to come.
Yay, I know, so great. I think that the standard of excellence that you have put on our teams collectively has been pretty remarkable and a really great thing for us to all achieve and subscribe to. There's obviously a lot happening with respect to bulk disbursements and bulk payments from the UNHCR side. We probably all jump just to thinking about payments to refugees, but what other types of use cases are impactful with respect to bulk payments?
Yeah. So of course, the organizations ourselves, we also, have payments. So we have payroll payments, we have payments for our staff on the ground. So they need cash as well to go through the day. But I think I'm also very confident that we can use it in different ways. So we're also looking at reintegration of refugees, or if they find a job. If they find a job, for example, in Canada, they need to travel, they need to have first subsistence to get actually into Canada, things like that. So this would be a very good use case. They travel with their money on their wallet, so it's portable. They get to Canada, they maybe need some money before they get to Canada, and when they get to Canada, they need money as well. And if obviously they're going to start work, and they could then return that money, and then more people can have the same opportunity to actually reintegrate. So I think going forward, also the idea how we participate in the local systems, in local economies, local liquidity. I think we will hear a little bit more about how you manage local liquidity. So the idea that you can safeguard USDC on your wallet, it's portable, and you have plenty of opportunities and decision-making points, whether you cash out in local currency or you go into another jurisdiction and ultimately withdraw in US dollars or euros or local currency. So MoneyGram in this respect also provides a very important last mile flexibility.
What kind of scale are we talking about? How big is this? And is blockchain ready for the UN?
I think blockchain right now is ready for the UN. But as I said, more to come, more to come. I think the expectations, I think it's just of a teaser right now. The expectations are now higher, I think, what we can do, because we have needs which are probably a little bit different. And it matters, because if you imagine any of you to be a refugee, it matters because you're waiting for that particular allocation to come. So it's not a trial and error, it is really precise. So if you're expecting $300, then the $300 need to get there. So so we feel quite passionate about that, because we are in that business, if I can talk like that, to provide these services. So refugees and people in need, they rely on us that we actually select solutions that work. So we are not trying to put unnecessarily people on risk, but I would say this is really just only the beginning. Also for financial inclusion, we were talking about financial inclusion yesterday. To basically have digital inclusion, also inclusion in the economic fabric. And ultimately, it's big. It's not just big in numbers, because we are talking about the UN system yearly receives something like 60 billion, just to give you an idea. UNHCR itself has cash flows of about 6 billion a year. So you need to have really top-end systems to manage these flows, but more importantly, to make sure, A, you can reach everyone, and to make sure that every dollar perhaps actually turns out in $2 or $3 in the economic system. So the multiplier effect, I think it's something that is underestimated as you have markets locally developing. So we just talked about humanitarian assistance at this point, but there's a whole development story behind it as well, how you actually develop and really make that difference. Yesterday we discussed, or it was discussed, how inclusion is still kind of struggling, to really be there. And I think that this use case, I think we probably will remember it for many years, that in Rome, many roads lead to Rome. So.
For those of you that weren't here at a session with the former mayor of Rome, we learned that everything starts and ends in Rome. So I love that. The notion of the transparency of the blockchain in terms of the donors actually seeing the disbursement, is that something that the UN thinks about?
Of course, yeah. So the key is that the blockchain also allows you to have fully integrated reporting. So it's not just on the chain, but it's really real time, all the time. So I think this is extremely powerful. Of course, you need to have all the integration points. We are looking right now into a project where you have direct donate. So any of you could donate $100, and you see exactly it has gone there. And $100, I gave $100, $100 were received. So Transparency, of course, is paramount, and value for money, and doing more digital cash, because all the other modalities, they sometimes make sense if shelter is needed, if tents are needed, but cash, digital cash will give most optionality to everyone in need.
The last thing I want is to give you the opportunity to tell us how we can help. We already want to help on the technology, and we're spending time there, but is there anything that anyone here can do to help what the UNHCR wants to do in terms of its ultimate goals?
Well, I think that the community is already, full in force, so that's good. I think smart contract is probably something we can look at as well, and to come on this journey with the community. I think that'd be very powerful. And we don't know what we don't know in that sense, but more to know, more to do. So I think to stay engaged, UNHCR and the UN community at large, to be engaged with this community as well.
We are so honored that you came. Thank you so much for being here. And we are so thrilled about the opportunity to work with you. As I said, you have actually made us better, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you. And we're so excited to see this come to fruition. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.